Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson along with Andrew Bone. Long time no see. I missed you. I know you guys love Andrew Bone. I know you guys support the channel. So thumbs up, subscribe. Let's get 500 likes on this recruiting episode. Bone, what's up, man? How you been?
I've been good. Been good. Just been enjoying the month of July a little bit. We kind of we thought it was going to be a little bit of a break, but all these commitments were happening throughout the month, which we kind of knew was going to happen. We've been telling the Alabama fans, in the month of June, just be patient. The commitments are going to take place. They're taking their visits in the month of June. They're going to be deciding in the month of July. And we've seen a lot of commitments happen. Probably see more 2024 commitments happen than I expected. I mean, Alabama has two 2024 commitments, and they don't typically take those 2024 guys too early, or at least the juniors too early. And they found some guys that they really liked, and were eager to go ahead and get those guys on board. So I certainly expect over the course of the next couple weeks we're going to see a lot more 2023 guys jump on board, and we're also going to probably see maybe one or two 2024 guys commit to Alabama over the next few weeks.
Let's kind of just recap real quick. I mean, the last couple weeks in 2023, and of course, Martavis Collins in 2024 from the class 2024 just jumped on board. But Justice Haynes, Connor Tati, the kicker, the big boy from Finland. I mean, kind of your take on Alabama adding those guys, within the last, the latest additions, and particularly interested on your take on Haynes, and if that could potentially impact, Richard Young, who we're talking about, and kind of get your assessment there.
It's been pretty exciting couple weeks. Especially with Justice Haynes announcing his commitment to Alabama, over Georgia and Ohio State. I think probably the most surprising thing about his commitment was he came out and said that Ohio State was number two on his list, with Georgia number three, when everybody had pretty much penciled Justice Haynes in to Georgia's recruiting class. For the last several months, Georgia legacy, been to Georgia several times, close relationship with the coaching staff. But in the end, he felt like Alabama was the best fit for him, and we certainly felt like Alabama had a strong chance with him the entire time. But always kind of felt like it was going to be just a little too tough to get him out of the state of Georgia, but Alabama was able to do so. So you got to give a lot of credit to Alabama running backs coach Robert Gillespie, who did a superb job recruiting Haynes. And I certainly think that he's not the last one at the running back position, and I think he knows that. I mean, Justice has already come out and said that he's heavily recruiting Richard Young to join him to be that perfect 1-2 punch combo in Alabama's recruiting class at the running back position. So I do think Alabama still has a very favorable chance to land Richard Young to go along with Justice Haynes, but you know, I would say that he was definitely the most surprising commitment for Alabama over the course of the last couple of weeks. Obviously, Connor Talty received his offer from the Tide after they came back from vacation. Attended Alabama's camp the final weekend of June, earned an offer, but didn't get the offer until a few weeks later. So once he received that offer from Alabama, decided to go ahead and jump on board. So Alabama has its kicker in this 2023 class, and then Olas Alinen announcing his commitment to Alabama last Friday. I think that was that was something that has been in the works for a long time. We talked about him, I think, last November when he received his offer from Alabama, and then he made a trip to Tuscaloosa. Probably has visited Alabama more than any other school. I think he made through, I think, 4 trips to Alabama total. It may have been 5, but the last visit for his official, great time. His family was able to come over from Finland. They absolutely love Alabama, love the coaching staff, love the structure of the program, and I love what Alabama is all about and their development, their ability to put offensive linemen in the NFL. And obviously, the winning doesn't hurt. So I think that Ola saw that, and we saw what he posted the other day. Something along the lines of trophies over Lambeau. So big win there for Eric Wolford on the offensive line front, and Alabama being able to get Ola Salina on board, being the third offensive line commitment in this class. And we kind of talked about throughout the spring, this was an important year at two positions: offensive line and defensive line. Yeah. Alabama's probably trying to sign 5 or 6 defensive linemen, trying to sign 5 maybe 6 offensive linemen. I think 6 might be pushing it, but definitely wanting to get 5. Got 3 on board. There's still some targets out there, and we'll talk about some of those guys here in a second. But overall, it's been a good couple of weeks for Alabama. As you mentioned, Montravius Collins also committing to Alabama, 2024 tight end out of Rome High School in Georgia. Big kid. I don't think he's going to end up being an offensive lineman. I've heard some mention that he could potentially grow into to a tackle, but I see him strictly as one of those big body tight ends. I think Alabama was really excited to get him on board. He's the number 5 overall tight end in the 2024 recruiting class. So good couple weeks, and I think we're going to see some more fireworks happen over the course of the next few weeks leading up until the college football season.
Here with Andrew Bone of Bama Insider on our Alabama YouTube channel. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys more than you know. My name is Kyle Henderson. Good to be back. Strong, feeling good going into closing out July into August. Of course, we'll have you up to date on Alabama football camp as just a week away from hitting the pads and getting things going. Bone, a new addition to Alabama's coaching staff, Eric Wolford, doing a great job on the recruiting front, landing 2 monsters, Formby, Olas, McElderry. We kind of went in our post game show about how to pronounce this young man's last name, so my bad on that. I'm sure we'll get that corrected as we go forward. But kind of mention the job that he's done since joining the Crimson Tide, and kind of focusing on these remaining offensive line targets.
Well, I think he's done a great job. I mean, this is his first year here. One of the common things I continue to hear, throughout this entire recruiting cycle from all these different offensive line targets was the relationship that Eric Wolford had with these guys prior to him joining Alabama's coaching staff. Rock McElderry, he was a guy that first received his offer from South Carolina 3 years ago, and it was from Eric Wolford. Wilkin Formby received an offer from Kentucky. I think it was his first offer last summer. That offer was from Eric Wolford. Ola Salinen had a relationship with Coach Wolford when he was at Kentucky. Recruited him a little bit there. So a lot of these guys have had this relationship for a long time, so it's really helped out. Alabama's missed on a couple offensive linemen. Francis Mauigoa, the big IMG Academy lineman who committed to Miami. I don't think you can really fault Coach Wolford there. I mean, this kid visited Alabama one time. They were in it. They made it to the top, 3. I don't know if they were in the top 2, but they were certainly in that top 3, top 4 for Francis. And then Caden Proctor. I think there was a chance there that Alabama, was the leader at one point after his official visit, and came down to Iowa and Alabama ends up staying home. But really, those were the only 2 guys that Alabama has really missed on it as far as offensive line targets, and those guys were uphill battles from the get go. But you get your 2 guys in state that you really want with Rock and Wilkin Formby. You get Ola Salinen, who many thought was going to go to Miami. Over the course of the last few weeks, there was so much Miami talk with him, and obviously we've seen the success that Miami's had and Mario Cristobal's had on the recruiting trail this cycle. So I think a lot of people were nervous that he was going to end up going to Miami, but Olas ends up committing to Alabama, and now we're waiting to see what's going to happen with the remaining targets in this class. Miles McVay is announcing his decision on August the 11th. Big offensive tackle out of East St. Louis High School in Illinois. I still think Alabama is in terrific shape to land his commitment. I know he's taken other official visits, Michigan State, Oregon, been to Texas A&M, but in the end, I think he's all Alabama. So let's say Miles McVay jumps on board. He commits on August the 11th. That would mean Alabama would have 4 offensive line commitments. So who's going to be that 5th guy? Samson Konolua is a 5-star lineman that Alabama certainly wants. They're certainly pressing for. Might be a little challenging to get. Miami's certainly a top contender there, and they're really pushing hard to land him. He's going to take a few more visits this fall before making a decision. So we'll see kind of where things stand with him in the next month or so. Raymond Polito. This is a guy I think Alabama fans need to know. He's a monster offensive lineman, 6'7", 300 and I think 340, 300, close to 350 pounds, but can absolutely run. He can move. He's got a lot of power and strength, and definitely a guy that Alabama wants and has been pushing for ever since he came to camp earlier this summer. He's actually in Tuscaloosa today for a couple days visiting Alabama. Like I said, this is his second visit to Tuscaloosa this summer. So keep a close eye on Raymond Polito over the course of the next few months, because I think Alabama is going to have a really good chance to potentially land him. So those are kind of the
Yeah.
guys that we're watching really closely over the course of the next few months. Samson Mokaloa, Raymond Polito, Miles McVay. I think Alabama's got a really good chance to land, potentially two of those guys. I think, as of right now, I think they're going to get two of those guys, maybe three, but we'll see what happens.
Here with Andrew Bone, a Bama Insider, talking about Alabama's offensive line. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you, fan, more than you know, coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama on July 25th. Bone, we talked about the offensive line. Let's kind of switch gears now and talk about the defensive line. As you know, always very important. No commitments yet, but you probably feel that's about to change. Mention some guys that Alabama certainly targeting: Hill, Collins, Hunter Osborne, who I believe is announcing when he will announce. That will actually be today, so on July 25th. But kind of give us the skinny on the defensive line and let us know how things are looking on that front.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest question. Who's going to fill these defensive line needs for Alabama? We kind of went into this recruiting cycle saying, defensive line very important. We talked about it all last year too, when Alabama only signed 3 defensive linemen. I said, don't worry, next year's absolutely loaded. Alabama's going to get theirs next year, and there's a lot of really talented players that are in the fold for the Crimson Tide, and they still are. A lot of these guys have yet to make decisions. I think we're going to see some decisions happen over the course of the next couple of weeks. Hunter Osborne out of Hewitt-Trussville, he's going to be making his decision on August the 1st. Right now, I am predicting Alabama for Hunter Osborne. Big in-state defensive lineman, 6'3.5", 6'4", about 265 pounds. Also think Alabama's in really good shape with Kelby Collins out of Gardendale High School, Rivals 100 defensive lineman, and definitely somebody that has been a priority target for the Tide for several months. I guess more than several months, at least over a year. And, they've certainly been, showing the red carpet treatment to Kelby every time he makes it down to Tuscaloosa. He's actually supposed to be at Alabama at least once this week. He says he may get down there twice. I think we're going to see a decision happen potentially before even August. But if it does go into August, I don't think it's going to be too far into it. I think he's going to make a decision before the start of his senior season. And right now, I am predicting Alabama. Edric Hill out of Kansas City, Missouri, visited Alabama for an official last month. Still waiting a little bit. He says he's probably going to wait until September to make a decision. But right now, Alabama is in the driver's seat for him. They hold a commanding lead. I think they're going to end up getting his commitment sometime in late September. But those are 3 guys that I think Alabama's got a great chance to land. As far as defensive lineman, Jordan Renaud. Jordan Renaud is an intriguing prospect because he's 6'4", about 200 and I think he's about 245 pounds. Could end up being a jack linebacker. Could bend it. I don't think he's an outside linebacker. I think he's a jack or potentially a defensive end. He says he's going. Once he gets to his future destination, we'll kind of figure that out. But he does think he's going to end up being a defensive end in college. I do think Alabama has the lead for him going into these next few weeks. He's going to visit Oklahoma this weekend. It's kind of his top 2, Alabama and Oklahoma. But in the end, I do see him picking Alabama. There's a lot of other defensive linemen still out there that Alabama certainly has high interest in. I don't necessarily see commitments happening right now. Reuben Bain out of Miami definitely remains one of Alabama's prime targets. I think he's probably going to take it into the season before he makes a decision. James Smith out of Carver High School in Montgomery. He's not going to make a decision until December. So a long way to go with James Smith's recruitment. So we'll be talking about him a lot for the next several months. Peter Woods, committed to Clemson. Was a shock to many Alabama fans. I don't think we were necessarily surprised when he did make that decision. And I do think Alabama's still going to be in it in the end. Now, does that mean he's going to flip? No, but I think that Alabama's at least going to continue to try, and we'll see what happens. Over the course of the next. I don't think we'd see anything potentially happen anytime soon, but I think it would be something that might happen in December if it does happen at all. First off, Alabama's got to get him back for an official visit. I think that's going to be the most important thing. If he comes back for an official visit, then they're going to have they're going to have a realistic chance to potentially flip him.
Here with Andrew Bone, a Bama insider. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys more than you know. Coming to you on Monday, July 25th. Got some exciting news coming your way on August 1st. So definitely stick around for that news to come right here on our YouTube channel. Bone, Alabama is still in heavy contact with several targets, rather, were currently committed elsewhere, maybe on Flip Watch. There's some thought that Sertain Perkins was on the verge of flipping a couple weeks ago. Do you think Alabama is still in good shape with Perkins? Who else are we watching in terms of a Flip Watch? Why don't you kind of elaborate right there?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tricky to discuss who's gonna flip to Alabama. But what we can say is there are a lot of targets that are out there that Alabama is certainly still pushing for that they would love to add in this class. And Terry Perkins certainly a guy that I think a lot of people were expecting a potential flip from him a few weeks ago. Didn't happen. It's not to say it won't happen, but I still think that Alabama has a tremendous chance to flip Centurion Perkins, and be surprised if it lasted much longer. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Keon Keeley out of Tampa, definitely a major target for the Tide, 5-star defensive lineman. Recruited mainly as a jack linebacker. He's a guy that loves Alabama. Said that was a school he always wanted to go to, but ended up committing to Notre Dame. Visited Alabama for junior day earlier this year as a Notre Dame commitment. Hasn't really said a ton about where things stand, but he has recently said that there are some schools that are still coming after him very strongly, including Alabama. As of right now, we expect him to, not necessarily flip, but we do expect Alabama to at least get a visit from him this fall. So we're going to be keeping our close eye on Keon Keeley over the course of the next few months, especially if he makes that trip to Tuscaloosa in the fall, which I think just about every kid's trying to get that ticket to the Alabama Texas A&M game. So we'll see if he makes it in for that weekend, or potentially comes for another weekend where it may not be as busy and he can spend a little bit more time with the coaching staff. Another guy that we're watching pretty closely, and even though he's a Georgia legacy, we're going to be watching Lawson Lucky over the course. I don't know how long it may be. He may not ever flip, and it's always tough to pull those kids out of the state of Georgia, especially the Georgia legacies. He's been committed to Georgia for a long time, but he has shown a lot of interest in Alabama. He's made, I think, 2 or 3 trips to Tuscaloosa since that commitment to the Bulldogs, including an official visit last month. Hasn't really talked a lot, but Alabama doesn't have a tight end commitment in this class. Now, they did sign several in last year's recruiting class. They still want to get one, and I think Lawson Lucky is the guy that we're going to probably focus more so than other targets, just because I think Alabama's going to have a better chance with him than some of the other guys who are still out there. I think Deuce Robinson, probably a long shot, even though Alabama's in his top 4. So he's the guy that I think if Alabama's going to sign any tight end, I think it could be him. If they miss on him, they may not sign anybody. So those are 3 guys right there that I think Alabama is going to have a really strong chance to potentially flip at some point. And obviously, there's other guys out there that Alabama's recruiting that they're trying to get on campus. Peyton Bowen is a Notre Dame commitment. Robbie Washington is a Miami commitment. Peter Woods, who we talked about earlier, Clemson commitment, and trust me, there's some other guys out there that Alabama's recruiting that are committed elsewhere that we'll probably see pop up during the season. We may even see somebody pop into to Tuscaloosa this week for an unofficial visit.
Bone, I wanted to ask you about Caleb Downs, the top safety in the country. Will announce his decision on Wednesday. Where do you think things stand, and where are we in the final days before his decision?
Well, it's it's tight. I mean, this is one of those recruitments, and nobody seems to really know what he's going to do now. Obviously there's different people that feel a certain way as far as which way he's going to commit or which school he's going to commit to, but I don't think anybody truly knows. Caleb was supposed to sit down with his family on Sunday night, discuss his finalists, make that decision, inform other family members, and then kind of let coaches know over the course of the next couple of days. Now it's coming down really between Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. I think it's more so between Alabama and Ohio State. As of right now, I don't think he's going to stay in the state of Georgia. I think he's going to leave. So I think it's Alabama or Ohio State. I lean Alabama. Ohio State's right there. I mean, they are not giving up. He is still talking to the coaching staffs from I think all schools, but especially Alabama and as we know, Alabama and Ohio State really pushing hard. Obviously, Georgia's pushing hard too. I'm sure he's still talking to them, but just the feeling that we're getting on every side that we've talked to, it seems like it's an Alabama Ohio State battle. Lean Alabama a little bit closer to home. I think they've done a great job recruiting him, really from start to finish. But could go either way. But I'm leaning Alabama as we head into this final decision this week.
Bone, I have to ask you, hypothetically speaking, I know Nick Saban doesn't even like hypothetical questions. I'm sure you don't either. But let's just say that Downs commits to Alabama on Wednesday. You could argue this could be one of the better recruiting class at the defensive back position that we've seen under Nick Saban. You would have Downs in the DB class with Hurley, Tony Mitchell, Hubbard. Would Alabama take another safety who's still out there at the corner position as you kind of look at the landscape of recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly shaping up to be, one of Alabama's best DB classes. The guys that they already have on board with Hurley and Tony Mitchell, both in-state guys, and then Brayson Hubbard, who blew the coaches away during the camp last month, and earned a committable offer, right then and there during camp. Obviously it had no reflection on where Alabama felt like it stood with some other guys as we kind of come into this decision this week with Caleb Downs, because I think Alabama feels like it's going to have a great chance to get him on board this week. So who's still out there? Bryce Thornton was really impressive at camp last month, safety out of Milton High School over in Alpharetta. He wants to jump on board. I think he's probably going to wait until maybe September to make a decision. If he wants to commit to Alabama, they're not going. I don't think they're going to say no to him. They love this kid. He's a high priority target for them. Now, Caleb Downs jumps on board. Does that potentially push Bryce Thornton to go somewhere else just because there's other safeties in the recruiting class? I'm not sure, but you never know. It could also potentially help Alabama's chances with Bryce Thornton. So we're going to continue to watch Bryce over the next few months. But he's really kind of the one safety that I think Alabama's going to have still a strong chance to get. Peyton Bowen, another guy currently committed to Notre Dame that we talked about as a guy that Alabama is still recruiting. Starting to lean more towards him not flipping to Alabama. Could he flip somewhere else? Yeah, I mean, I think Texas A&M certainly a top contender for Peyton Bowen. So we'll watch what he does over the over the next few months. Cornerback wise, it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens here over the next few weeks, especially with Makari Vickers. Makari Vickers, very talented defensive back out of Tallahassee. Has a top three: Alabama, Michigan, Oklahoma. Now, I think it's more of an Alabama-Oklahoma recruiting battle. He's taking an unofficial visit to Oklahoma this weekend and making a decision next month. I think it's around, I'd say it's around August the 19th. So he's going to be making a decision next month. As of right now, I think it's really tight between Alabama and Oklahoma. I would lean Alabama, but the visit to Oklahoma this weekend is pretty interesting because it's going to be a second visit to Norman this summer after taking that official visit in June. So we'll be watching him closely. And then Cormani McClain, the five-star cornerback out of Lakeland, everybody wants him on board. There's all this talk right now that Alabama is in the driver's seat, which I do believe that is the case. But this recruitment won't be over anytime soon. I think he's going to take it all the way till December. Alabama, Miami, Florida, Georgia, all in the picture. He's going to take some visits this fall, but certainly a priority target for Alabama. Damari Brown's another intriguing prospect out of American Heritage in Plantation, Florida, that came in for an official last month. That's a guy that Alabama's still, showing some interest in, still recruiting, but probably going to wait and see what happens with Vickers, see what happens with McLean. Damari Brown. I don't think he's in a rush to make a decision, so I think Alabama can be patient there and try to figure out what's going on with him over the course of the next couple months. But we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But obviously off to a great start with the 3 DB commitments. Potentially, they might have 4 come Wednesday if Caleb Downs jumps on board.
All right, last thing before we let you go, Bone. Any other potential decisions you are watching closely this week as we get to the back end of the recruiting barbecue and start to close out this month of July?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned some of the guys who are potentially on flip watch. We mentioned Kelby Collins potentially making a decision. I think Richard Young is getting very close. I don't know if he's going to decide this week or next, but I do think it's going to happen before the season. And we mentioned him earlier. I still think Alabama's in the driver's seat for Young. Keep an eye on some 2024 guys. I think the guys at Clay Chalkville, Jalen Mbakwe, Mario Craver. I think both of those guys could be close to making a decision. Maybe Jalen Mbakwe a little bit before Mario Craver, but those are some guys that we're going to be watching pretty closely, especially this week because kids are coming back to campus. I think decisions could happen. Obviously we mentioned Hunter Osborne announcing his decision next Monday. Caleb Downs news coming on Wednesday, so I certainly think that we're going to see some more decisions happen, more kids announcing commitment dates and stuff like that. So you never know. Justice Haynes, you would think, would have set a commitment date other than just announcing out of the blue. So you may see that happen more often with some of these top end guys, but you just kind of have to wait and see. But very exciting time on the recruiting front for Alabama. Things are really starting to pick up, and I think there's a lot of excitement, from the fan base because you go through the month of June. You have all these different recruits that are on campus. Big name guys that you want, guys that you're really pressing for, and then nothing really happens. I mean, there was a few commitments in the month of June, but Alabama fans were like, when's something going to happen? We got to get some big guys on board. And now a lot of those big names are starting to jump on board, and we're going to see more decisions happening over the course of the next few weeks leading into the football season. So, it's time to just get ready and be excited about what's going on with the Alabama Crimson Tide, because with everything going on with NIL, all this stuff with other schools, Alabama, they're still Alabama. They're still getting top guys, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
All right. Good stuff, Bone. Well, we appreciate you guys watching our recruiting show today. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. The Bone is the GOAT when it comes to recruiting, often imitated but never duplicated. He's Andrew Bone. My name is Kyle Henderson, both of the Alabama YouTube channel right here. Hit the subscribe button, drop us a thumbs up, drop us a comment inside the comment box. We'll put the timestamps inside this video so you can go check it out and kind of cruise through what you want to watch. Big week for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then, of course, as we get into August, we got tons of team coverage and we'll get closer to the college football season. I know you're excited. I know I'm excited. And our whole crew is excited. We got Trey Yanity in the background producing, so special thanks to him. He's the one that makes all the graphics and everything go. We couldn't do it without him. From beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Kyle Henderson, Andrew Bone. This is the Andrew Bone Recruiting Show right here on the Alabama Football YouTube channel. Catch you next time. Thank you very much for watching.